Look at me learning.
You're not going to believe this, but Luddy just figured out how to find our YouTube page.
Let's not say I didn't figure it out on my own, though.
And he's looking at the chat for the first time on his own computer. So if you're in the chat right now for our post-game show,
fire away.
Light him up. He's paying attention. Let's get going. Stars post-game show right now.
Got 5 seconds to figure it out?
Well, he's still trying to figure it out. I thought Luds had the chat all figured out, and then it disappeared on him. Then he keeps hitting refresh. His computer's all kind of messed up.
I'm back in.
Yeah, for how long?
I don't know.
All right. But
show I'm watching.
If you want to chat directly with Luds, he's trying to look at our chat.
Do we have to
right
talk
now.
about this game?
We do. This is the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Stars get a point for the 12th consecutive regular season meeting with the Minnesota Wild.
You know what wins and loses hockey games?
What's that?
Special teams and goaltending.
Boy, did it ever tonight.
Say good night.
Stars lose to the Wild 3-2 in overtime. That's the only positive. They got a point, but it's going to feel like a loss tonight. Craig Ludwig, our producer John, I'm Exhausted Anderson, and I'm Owen Newkirk. Glad to have you here tonight as Dallas for, oh, look, there you go, Burn Oils. Hey, Luds, see? Right to the bottom. They just said hi to you.
Hey.
There you go. There's your first one. And he saw it. So the chat's already fired up as we will get into it tonight, but we have a lot of time. We don't have Sam tonight. He'll be back on Sunday for the Stars game at Chicago. Hopefully it'll be better than the last time they went to Chicago. And, of course, Sean will be part of that one as well because he's not here tonight. When we look at this one, Luddy, for the better part of 50 minutes, this one felt like it was going to be a one-sided, like, what did Minnesota do here? They show up, they had nothing. And then all of a sudden, 2 quick goals, an overtime goal, and that one, in the end, you're feeling rather sour about this performance.
There are coaches who have passed away rolling over in their graves right now. There are current coaches because they will always say you have to play 60 minutes. It's a 60-minute hockey game. Minnesota found a way to play about 24. Maybe? Am I exaggerating?
I mean, they had...
Probably not even that much.
Yeah, I mean, their third period was okay. And the end, they had, like, what, a minute or two at the end of the second period where they had a chance to... For the better part of 40 minutes, Minnesota looked like they weren't going to get a shot on goal, let alone a scoring chance. I mean, they were wretched through 2 periods of play.
If it was the other way around, wouldn't we say that the goaltender kept him in it?
Oh, yeah.
Gustafsson kept him in this game. He kept him hanging around, and we've seen this a couple times now with Casey DeSmith, right? And a couple of his starts, and I thought even the last game that Casey played, he allowed the guys to kind of get their feet underneath them. It's exactly what the goaltender did in Minnesota. He let in a couple goals, but they were a couple great shots by Wyatt and Dodonov. But after that, he made some really, really big saves, and then fortunate for the rest of that group that they found a couple ways where the guy at the other end, our goaltender, Jake Ottinger, was not up to the task like the guy at the other end.
Yeah, at the end of this one, it's going to look rather one-sided in that regard. But frankly, he didn't face a lot early on. So let's do a quick recap of this one, and then trust me, we'll get into all your chats. And you can yell at Luds. He'll tell you why you should or shouldn't be upset about this, all the various things that we have going on. In the first period, it looked like the Stars were going to run him out of the building because it was one-way traffic. I liked what I saw with Stankoven on the fourth line. I thought that the combination of Marchment, Blackwell, and Duchesne looked very good. They looked dangerous. And after a high-danger chance for Rope Hintz when he was wide open from the inside of left circle that Gustafsson denied. Oh, by the way, he stopped Stankoven twice. Dodonov, Lindell. Evgeny Dodonov scores on a breakaway. A beautiful pass by Wyatt Johnson to set him up. And Dodonov has 9 goals this year through 34 games is on pace to have 20 plus. What a player this year. 9:52 of the first period, and he absolutely sizzles one over the shoulder on the blocker side of Gustafsson.
The pass that Wyatt made is A1, right? Because first off, he gets it past a real good defenseman in Brodin. And then he has to put enough heat on it so Dadonov doesn't go offside. So he's putting it behind Brodin, who is between Wyatt and Dadonov, and he puts it right on the tape. And it was all speed. I was kind of surprised that we didn't see a lot of replays. I was almost thinking, was that offside? Because you would think from the way that puck had to pass and where Dadonov went, I thought there might have been, but it wasn't, obviously, because nobody looked at it.
It's funny you say that, because when you watch the replay of the second goal, the one that Wyatt scored from Dadonov, the drop pass was right on the blue line, and that was really close to maybe just putting themselves offside.
And who dropped that?
That was Dadonov to Wyatt.
He kind of teeter-totters on that blue line.
But it worked.
But he was really good tonight.
So it's 1-0 halfway through the first period. Minnesota, at that point, had 2 scoring chances. They would manage one more. They had 4 shots, only 3, no high danger, the entire first period. So the Stars had 13 scoring chances, and their third high danger belonged to Jason Robertson on the power play, and he hit the post. It was a great early shot. And Letty, I thought that first power play in the end of the first period was really good, except they didn't score. And it was really good right up until Mason Marchment took a deflected puck off the stick of Logan Stankoven and hit him right in the face. And a lot of blood. Looked like it. I don't know if it hit him in the bridge of the nose or right above it in the forehead. It looked bad. He was helped off. They had a big delay to clean it. And then they didn't end up scoring after that, obviously. But I really liked what I saw in that power play right up until that point.
I don't disagree with you, but I wish there were more second opportunities, yes. Second and third. It's more like it's one done, and then it goes into the corner, and then we got to go chase it down. Just to be able to recover a couple more and get a couple more chances or a whack at the puck yet.
Well, unfortunately, the Stars only had 1 goal to show for that first period. Shots were 14-4. The shot attempts were 32-12. I mean, the only thing that Minnesota won was the face-off battle in the first period. It really looked, and Letty, it continued in the second. The funny thing is that they had a Marcus Foligno tip play bookend of the middle period, because there was a point shot right in the second period that began where he was trying to get out of the way, and it kind of grazed off his torso and went on net. Saved by Oettinger. The end of the period, right at the buzzer, he hit the post with a tip play. This was one that was a little bit more intentional. And that would be sort of a bit of a clairvoyance of things to come later in the game.
I was just going to say, looking back at it now, They were kind of starting to knock on the door a little bit.
They were. And it was at the end of the period, though, because after that beginning one, they had a power play, and it was remarkable because the Stars had more puck possession than the Wild did on Minnesota's power play, to the point where they played keep away 4-on-5 inside the Minnesota zone and eventually created a scoring chance for Thomas Harley shorthanded. I mean, the place was going crazy because it was just like the Wild couldn't touch the puck.
It was kind of like where you're starting to get a little cocky. You know what I mean? And it kind of comes back to haunt you, and it did. But I think what it did is it embarrassed the Wild a little bit.
They should be embarrassed.
And I think there was probably a conversation on the bench, whether it was the coach or some of the players, and we're not going to accept this, because from that moment, it seemed like the game changed a little bit in Minnesota's favor.
Yeah, it did. I mean, the Stars had another power play where they had a couple of looks. You notice that with Marchment was announced at the end of the first period, start of the second, that he would not return because of his upper body injury, clearly puck to face, and it was nasty. I hope he'll be okay to play on Sunday in Chicago, but we'll see exactly what the extent of the injury. It didn't look good.
It sounds weird because I didn't know until you got back and you said he got it in the nose.
Yeah.
I thought he got it in the cheek because you can't tell. They didn't show any
It was really hard to see. It looked like it hit either right at the bridge of the nose or a little higher based on that slow-mo replay that Victory Plus showed.
And the only reason I say is it could be better, not that there's anything better, but you get hit in that cheekbone, orbital bone. I had that happen to me one time, and then it ends up being a little bit more time-consuming, that you're going to miss some time. But if it's just a nose, a broken nose, you'll see him come back with a cage, and if he comes back soon.
Well, our fans, our viewers are not going to be happy with this sentence, but did losing Mason Marchment affect the Stars' game after the first period?
Yeah. Yeah, well, of course it does. Anytime you lose, we lost Tyler, And it
already.
affects our team.
Yep.
It affects the power play. It affects a lot of other things. Now you lose the guy that was one of the hottest guys in the league to start the year off, and that goes to the front of the net. That's why he's taken a couple to the face so far. So there is a downer. And then the other downer is when the players hear the announcement or the word trickle down that he's not coming back, because now you kind of sink a little bit lower knowing that a key player won't be returning, because you've seen him return from a lot of other injuries that he's had. So I think that's it brings the group down a little bit.
But even after that, Minnesota could not get anything on net. They couldn't create any scoring chances. And the Stars, even with the power play, Maverick Bourque got some power play time because of the injury to Marchment. Now, he wasn't on the top group, but he's on they moved around a little bit. I thought Duchesne had a decent look. It wasn't high danger, but he tried to do a quick one-timer from the sort of outside of the right circle, and he hit the side of the net. He's trying to go short side on Gustafsson. He is trying desperately to create. That's the way the player he is, but he's lost a couple of weapons around him, and it hasn't clicked for him since.
Well, I think he does a lot of the creating for his line mates typically. He's a guy that makes little moves and little plays that whoever he plays with, they find open areas of the ice and they, try to convert them. So now when he's starting to do even more and more, sometimes they'll tell you, the more you do, sometimes the less the results will be. So, but again, I think it's what you expect out of a player that wants to win and that has such a good start to this season.
The Stars would get the second goal, and it's funny because after the second power play, I'm sitting here going, please tell me that you're not going to end up getting one goal and letting Minnesota hang around, because they weren't good through almost 50 minutes. But they did get that second goal, and it was the same duo. It was Dadonov and Johnson, this time switched. Dadonov was the provider, drop pass, and Wyatt Johnston fired it right through Declan Chisholm's legs, beats Gustafsson, 15:08 time of the goal. It's the 7th of the year for Johnson. Ilya Lyubushkin gets an assist, and he started this play at his own blue line, 2-0 Stars.
I think that line, with Jamie on it, with that was the best line. It's the one that, Pete had to start the game for a good reason. But what we're seeing out of Wyatt now is more of the shooting of the puck. Before, I think in the beginning when he was kind of having a hard time finding goals, there was a little, trying to get in a little bit tighter. And we've been saying since the beginning of the year, he's got a hell of a shot and he's got to use it. Now he's using it. And I think that the confidence is now starting to come back for him and in that shot of his.
The Minnesota Wild did not have their most important and most valuable player in this game. His name is Kirill Kaprizov. He has 50 points in 34 games. He didn't make the trip today because of a lower body injury. John Hines, their head coach, said before the game that he was sore entering the Christmas break, and so he wasn't there. And Letty, we make some sort of, talk about Marchment being hurt and missing Sagan. Part of why the Wild offense wasn't very good tonight through the first two periods was they didn't have their best player.
They have nobody to carry it in the zone. They'll have nobody pull up in the zone, nobody to shoot the puck. Zuccarello had nobody to pass to. He's what makes that team go offensively. And I think what part of their MO tonight probably was, let's keep this thing close. Let's hang around, because we get into a shootout, we're missing our biggest gun. So the guy that was most responsible for that obviously is the goaltender.
One thing did happen at the end of the period, and I think this kind of woke the Wild up a little bit, or gave them a little bit of life, because they're down 2-0. Again, through two periods of play, they had 9 shots on goal. But Chisholm had a one-timer from the midpoint. Ottinger made the save. There's another shot that gets blocked in front. It drops to Trennan at the left side of the crease.
Oh, that one.
And he absolutely shanks an open net. Just hit the outside of the post. Should have scored, missed it. Then at the buzzer, Foligno, as we mentioned earlier, had a tip play that hits the right post. I mean, it was very close to going in, and just that little bit of high danger to end the period had to have helped the Wild's mental state a little bit after just being blah for 40.
And sometimes I wonder if at the end of the period they know they could have cut the lead in half going into the locker room. They don't, but somehow they find a way to regroup and come back out. So, but yeah, the Trennan one was huge, and I think the puck was kind of standing up on edge a little bit as he shanked it off to his left a little bit, but he had the wide open net, and so you could see the look on his face. And they took it into the room and somehow they found a way to come out with a little bit better third period.
Well, it changes in the third and overtime. We'll get into that next here on the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show.
Founded in 2010, Herman Marshall, Dallas County's first legal distillery since the repeal of Prohibition. Located in historic downtown Wiley, Texas is proud to partner with the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas on a single-barrel expression of its signature straight bourbon whiskey. Guns N' Hoses Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing immediate financial assistance to the families of fallen police officers and firefighters lost in the line of duty. They're built from the grain up through family, fellowship, and friends. So for every bottle of single-barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas for those who went before. Stop into your closest goody-goody liquors and other fine retailers.
Let's talk about Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means that when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And if you need a late gift, after the holidays, you can still do that. But here's the thing. The kids are still out of school. You have holidays coming up because New Year's is on the way. You've got to find ways to kill some time, find some things that keeps everybody occupied. No better way than taking your kids or your friends, family, who name it, even the relatives that you don't necessarily want to talk to. Take them to a sporting event. Take them to a concert. Take them to a theater, a comedy show. Use Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You don't have to go to every single venue because they have them all. So rather than go from one spot to another, go right to Game Time. Check out their panoramic seat views in the app so you know what you're getting before you buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Hey, Luds, what time is it?
It's game time.
If only we could teach Sam to put that kind of energy into it.
Especially after that kind of game.
Especially after that kind of game. Well, the third period started with some net front play for the Wild. Stars with a 2-0 lead. Wild had 9 shots on goal through 2 periods. But it was Jared Spurgeon shooting from the point, Ryan Hartman trying to jam at it on rebounds in front. Again, Oettinger was there, but then they did it again, this time with Brendan Gaunce, who is at the top of the crease on a rebound. The shot came in, kicked out. He's there maybe, 2 feet, 3 feet above the crease, gets the loose puck, fires it, Oettinger makes the save. So we're a couple minutes in, Luds, and until the Stars got a power play, it was all Minnesota.
They're starting to make them work. They're making Dallas work in front of their own net. Jake is having to go side to side, looks through some traffic. And, again, when you talk about what you're describing, it's what we would like to see at other times down at the other end of the rink.
Indeed.
A few more of those second and third opportunities, being able to get in, battle and fight and find a loose puck and throw another one on net.
The power play, which was Matt Boldy, just 4:39 into the third period for interference, gave Dallas a chance to get a couple of things. One, their first power play goal in their last 4 games, and that third goal, which would have probably put them away. Now, you're up 2-0 at home. You should probably win this one anyway. But they have a chance on the power play. Wyatt had an early look. I think it took a little deflection, and Gustafsson saved it. But then that was it. The rest of that power play, by far, I think the least effective of the 3 they had tonight.
Yeah, and there were a couple chances, but again, the one and done, and then it goes down. They got to chase back into their own end. They had a little bit of problem a couple times on the regroups. They had to kind of regroup, and that takes another 4 or 5 seconds off the clock. And next thing you know, there's 15, 20 seconds you're trying to rush it if and when you get in the zone.
Even then, right, at the end of 10 minutes, it's all Stars as far as, the Wild had the early push, then that power play, really nothing of note, a couple of chances, but nothing high danger. And then all of a sudden at 10:36, so a little past the halfway point, the Stars have a chance at one end. The puck goes the other way.
And there was a save at one end.
That's right.
Yep.
And then it looked like 4 Wild up in the rush pretty fast, because when that pass moved from right to left, Brodin caught it. He had a teammate to his left who was also uncovered. And Zuccarello, who is, a gifted playmaker. We saw it when he played for Dallas. He is one of the best passers, I think, in the NHL. Makes a nice cross-ice pass. And Brodin scores at 10:36. but he shouldn't have scored.
No, and you wonder when you mentioned that he could have made another pass, was Jake really set and ready for him to do that? Like I don't. He may have thought there are 4 guys here. Is he going to make an extra pass? And so he's not ready, and he gets down late, and it ultimately goes right between his legs.
57 seconds later, it's tied. So it goes from 2-1. Again, you're still in the lead. You go, oh, well, the shutout bid is over, but you've managed to hold Minnesota to a very low number of shots and shot attempts and scoring chances, and you're leading 2-1 at home. And, Luddy, what was the Stars' record when leading going into the third period at home this year?
They were 9-0-0 when they have a lead at the end of the second period. And Minnesota, when trailing, what was it when they were trailing into the second period this year? They were 0-2.
So, unblemished record for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota had not won a game trailing going into the third on the road. Stars hadn't lost a game at home when they had the lead after 2. 57 seconds later, it's tied. As Marcus Foligno, you got to give him some acrobatic credit here. I don't know if he was planning for this. In fact, I would like to say that he wasn't. But again, it's Spurgeon shooting it from the point, and Foligno, I think, is trying to jump to get out of the way.
Are those the police officers coming for Steve's spot? What?
Well, that sounds like the first one sounded like a
coming
fire
to be
truck.
arrested? Well, maybe it's burning down inside the coach's room.
Maybe so.
I need a Miller
fire.
Lite.
Yeah, maybe a Miller Lite. So this shot
Here
from
come
the
the
point,
paramedics.
Now they're mocking us.
Yeah.
now they're just going to keep honking. This thing glances off the inside of his left leg as he's trying to jump to
He
avoid
had a good
it.
vertical to get up in the air, though, didn't he?
On skates. That's pretty impressive,
Yeah.
especially for a big guy like Foligno. He's not some 5'7" sleight of frame guy, and it glances off the inside of the left thigh, and it goes thigh or shin. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was above. I think it was below the knee, and it goes in.
Didn't you get the impression when you see Jake's reaction that he had no idea what happened?
Yeah.
Like, how did that go in?
Well, don't you think he's tracking that wide?
Well, I think when Jake is looking out at the shooter, that the player that ends up getting it caught on the inside of his is to his left, that there's a line of sight there. And you're right. Was it going wide?
I think it was.
Did you think it was going wide?
Well, because
I didn't see a good enough angle, I think.
hit the leg of
It
Foligno,
didn't move much.
It glanced toward the net. So maybe it was still going to hit the post or close, but I thought it was enough just to change inside the post. But for Foligno, it's his 6th goal of the year, and it ties it. I mean, 2 goals in 57 seconds.
My other question to be, where's Sean, is shouldn't Jake be standing up? Because he was down on his knees.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I just wonder, because he's so tall and Foligno's not, 6'6",
right,
that he would be able to see up over the top of him. But again, that's a
it's
goalie
a
thing.
goalie thing, because the one thing is that he goes down the butterfly, he takes away the tip play that can go down and through the legs. If you
But
stand
isn't
up,
that what we're supposed to do, is come up with the what ifs?
oh yeah,
If we can't figure it out?
yeah, might as well.
All right,
Yeah.
we got
can
time
talk
to kill. We still
remember,
got time.
We're going to talk to him on Sunday too, because Sean will be here for our next one. After that, okay, that second goal that tied it was 11:33. That means they were 8.5 minutes before overtime. I had 2 scoring chances in this one. For the Stars, Duchesne had one on a stuff shot at the post. He was trying to will a puck to go in. And then Dodonov had a turnaround from the left circle. In the last 8.5 minutes, nothing.
Shell-shocked?
I think the Stars were shell-shocked, and I think the Wild were very content to take this one past regulation, get a point on the road. And then, Luds, so Minnesota had almost as many scoring chances in the third period alone as they had in the whole game before the first 2 periods. They actually had one more. They had 7 through 2, and they had 8 in the third period. So they had a much better third because they had a chance to win.
Christmas miracle for him in the third period.
Then you go to overtime, and 35 seconds in, Brock Faber scores on a wraparound to win it. Matt Boldy and Marco Rossi with the assists, as that one, 35 seconds in, wins it for the Wild in a game in which it looked like they were going to get shut out halfway through the third period. So obviously it's frustrating. Some of the fans for the Stars were clamoring for them to find ways to get to overtime. Not in this way. What they were saying is, if you're behind, find a way to tie the game, get it to overtime, maybe something like this. Well, literally what the Wild did. But can you break down how this happened and what, if many, mistakes were made?
So John, who's running on fumes after his holiday trip off and weekend off, or whatever we call it.
Correct.
Put this together if you're watching, and there are a bunch of still pictures, but you can see here where Miro's chasing back to the net. Now, one thing I will say, 3-on-3 overtime, generally you do play a little bit more man-on-man than you would normally. Okay, I'm just want to get that out there.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it is very hard for me. So the initial, it comes in here, and Miro's a little bit behind, but what happens is when you keep an eye on Matt Duchene, who is actually standing right down by the goal, by the crease,
on
following,
his man.
And he's following his guy up. His player's starting to come up. But what happens is there's a point on this one right here. Duchene has to recognize that Wyatt has been beaten, okay? Faber has got the edge on Wyatt, and now you have to start to Miro too. Miro's looking off to his right because that was the guy that he was covering. But we've got problems in front of the net, and then at the end of this, you're going to see where Jake loses his net too. Jake gets outside the post. He can't recover. Now because Duchene and Heiskanen have followed those guys up almost to the top of the circle, there's no way that they can get back and recover. Faber makes a net, and he knows. He sees the whole play. And
there's the puck in the net right there.
Yeah. So
can you go back one slide there, John, if you could, please? So, Luddy, the one thing that struck me about looking at this picture is you constantly talk about a defenseman not chasing his forward behind the net.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's easy for me to say from our vantage point, not on the ice, not chasing this. But it seems as though the move for Wyatt here would have been to cut back across the top of the crease and meet him at the other post.
If we would go back one more frame, and it's going to be hard to even describe here. Just before this, Wyatt's feet got stopped a little bit.
Okay.
I think when he started to cross over is when he start to lose some momentum. He gets a little juke and jive from Faber. Faber goes to his left. His feet get crossed up. And yeah, you're right. But here, I think he still feels he's got a stick on him.
That he's got him where he wants him.
Because what's going to happen is once it goes behind the net and Jake loses his net, now Wyatt runs in to Otter because Otter's left leg is out there down below the goal crease. He kind of runs into it. It pushes him a little bit further out. In the meantime, Faber knows exactly where Wyatt is. He's got plenty of time to come around, and he wraps. Look at his body and the only thing out in front is a stick across the goal line. Everything else is behind the net. Smart play by Faber. But again, I just think that Matt Duchene, because if we're watching this live, when Duchene sees that, he kind of takes his time to come back to the front of the net. I just think if he has a little bit more urgency here, you can even dive to the far side of the net, left side of the net, where Faber's starting to come out, and maybe you get your stick in that and you slow things down, or you get your stick on the puck. So it's easy, at the end to try to describe all this. But again, I will say a little 3-on-3 to a point. You do stay with guys, but you always have to be aware of anything that may break down somewhere below the hash marks.
So if you look at any of those pictures, you see that Miro's guarding a guy who is a forward.
We can't even tell if there's a guy there. He's guarding Casper right now. No one there.
The friendly ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the original one. That's Matt Boldy, I believe, at the blue line, right? You would think, okay, Miro's guarding one of the more dangerous forward scoring threats.
But this frame, back one, that frame right there, he's looking off to his right.
That's right.
He doesn't even see the danger that's
because
coming.
he's keeping an eye on Boldy who's up there. But my point was, though, is that it shows that if you are playing man-on-man, especially in 3-on-3 where there's a lot more open ice, having a defenseman that can activate and put pressure one-on-one on a forward gives you a favorable matchup because Boldy was high in the zone, it draws their best defender, Miro, out, and now you've got Wyatt trying to defend a defenseman, except for that Faber makes a really nice play.
The other thing I don't like about just 5-on-5 or man-on-man in general is Duchene and Miro. They're not doing this, I'll tell you right now. But you can leave a play like this and go, I had my guy. That's the problem that I don't like about it. I got my guy. I hate that mentality. But again, it's the way that all teams play some shape or form of a man-on-man to some point in 3-on-3.
So at the end of the game, the Stars I think they'll feel like they lost this one. They do get a point, which is better than 0, right? It's 100% more, well, that still doesn't math. But 1 point is much better than 0, even if this one feels like they got nothing out of it because they should have won this one, and Minnesota got 2 points, so they actually stretched their lead on the Stars by an extra 1. That's where it's going to really stink, especially against a Wild team that was missing Kaprizov, missing Joel Eriksson-Ek, and Jake Middleton. So they're banged up. They have to travel today.
They stole 2 points here.
They did.
They stole 2, not just 1.
And the Stars should have won this one walking away. And honestly, after the was it the second period? Yes, because that was Roope Hintz had the penalty for holding. After that power play that was more possession for Dallas, a shorthanded than Minnesota, I went on Twitter because the writers for the Wild that were covering the team were just bemoaning how bad their power play is right now. Sounds familiar. And all the comments from Wild fans were very dark and very negative and upset. We suck. Our power play is awful. Matt Boldy should be sat for the rest of the game. Blow up the team. All those things. So if you think Stars fans on Twitter are passionate and emotional, guess what? So are Wild fans. Very much so. There was a stretch of time where the reporters covering the Wild were saying this is just an awful performance by this team, and they somehow found a way to gut out a win. Well, that's the part that's going to sting the most.
It was terrible. I mean, through 40 minutes, they were brutal. It's like they left their boots on. So again, you're the one with the green jerseys on. You're not talking about Minnesota right now. You're talking about yourself and your game and how you took your foot off the gas and you didn't get a couple more scoring chances that find the back of the net.
Well, we're going to get into what will surely be a passionate chat next here on the DLS Dallas Stars postgame show. But first, let's talk about Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Means you don't have to go digging through all sorts of thousands of choices that will overwhelm you. Their philosophy is to help keep it straightforward, great choices. Don't have to worry about all these extra substitutes. What they leave out is as important as what they leave in. Their entire product team exhaustively combs through all these products and samples each year so they find the perfect styles for you. I love the virtual floor designer because you can really visualize how new floors will look in any space. You snap a picture, it's easy, and instantly you can see new floors, how they will look in your room. You know, shopping for floors at the big box store can be frustrating because someone that's working in plumbing yesterday's in flooring today, you don't have to worry about that. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. And now we talk about Sleeper. And John might be tired, but he's not so exhausted that he can't throw his favorite Boston Bruins into this one. Put it simple, Sleeper is the best fantasy league platform out there. You can put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Tomorrow, Brad Marchand is on a heater. I'll take the Bruins captain to score more than 0.5 goals against the Blue Jackets, more than doubling your money. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. It doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Luds. You know what time it is.
Yeah.
It's time for some chat.
Oh.
No, not that time.
Okay.
Now it's chat time.
Bing bong.
Let's bing bong it up. We'll make the screen a little bigger and see what we can do. It starts with a little DeSmith and Stanley Cup here from T. Farmer. End of the day, we switched up lines and it didn't work. I don't think that's the right justification for me because you lost Marchment to that puck to the face and that messed up the lines.
Jake is still your number one guy.
Yeah.
He's not falling out of that. Does he got to get his game put together? Yeah, probably a little bit tighter, but I mean, he wasn't going to not play. You know, we thought he was going to play the last game. At least I did. So he's ready, and he's just got to be better. That's all there is to it. I'm sure you're going to hear him say that in any post game.
We're going to have to look for it afterwards, and if we do, we'll play for you on Sunday for our pregame show with the Blackhawks game. All right,
Bing
next
bong.
one. JT, look at that, very generous. A Stankoven, and the year the Stars would have won the Cup had Luddy not retired, which is not the way you wanted me to put it, but lack of finishing is killing this team. We lost Joe Pavelski, ding, and replaced him with rookies. Stings how many leads we lose stuck at 2 to 3 goals.
On point.
Hard to argue with that one.
You can't.
Not that we need to, but
No.
yeah, it's a
Not
good
an
point.
argument. You're
So
right.
you did add some young, youthful energy, which you do have to do in this continuous cycle of salary cap era. But the Sagan injury really messed with things. look, obviously they didn't plan for that. That line, Duchesne, Marchment, Seguin, was cooking. One of the best lines in the league. And losing one of them and then losing the second one tonight, hopefully for not too long, but that really has messed with things.
I'll say the same thing I said in the pregame show. This is a different team. It's not the same team as last year. And yeah, you lost Joe. That put a big dent in, the Rupe and Robo, I guess, if we want to call it that. And then you lost who was our top line now. You lost Tyler, so you're down 2 guys there. And you've got a group of young players. We got 2-3 new defensemen that are in the lineup. You got Lundqvist that's back, that's playing a little bit more than he got to last year. So it's not the same team. And I don't know if it was, how we thought they were just going to pick up with new players, new pieces, missing a couple guys with injuries and things like that. The power play is a different animal that you're probably going to want to attack.
So there's an interesting comment here from Russell in the chat just now. We're going to get to a couple more super chats in a minute. But he said, Seguin injury mess with things, then use that money to improve the team. Yeah, that's the plan. But here's the problem, lads. They don't want to pull the trigger now, and then somebody else gets hurt, and now they can't adjust to maybe change the problem. Again, there's 2 things they have a limited amount of. Cap space with LTIR. They have a ton, but it is finite. It's not unlimited. And then secondly is assets. And one of the things they don't have an unlimited amount of, nobody does, is high draft picks that are coveted and prospects that you can trade away to get more players, right? Back when you were playing for a Stanley Cup, you could go out and sign a guy if you could agree to terms. And if your owner wanted to pay the money, you could bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've told this story before, but the year before the summer before, Mr. Hicks went to Bob and said, what do we need to get us past Detroit? That was the key. What do we need to get us past Detroit and put us in the driver's seat? And Bob said, Brett Hull, here's a checkbook. Go get him. And they did.
And that was all it took.
And that's all it rolled. Yeah, exactly. I mean, ironically, he just happened to score that goal. But
no, I mean more like all you had to do was go out and agree to terms and pay the money.
There was a process to that, though. Newendike came, Carbonneau came, Zubov came. So, I mean, it was a process 3-4 years.
Mike Keane and Brian Skrudlin.
Brought a bunch of guys in from Montreal that play in that environment and had won a cup and things like that before. And so the room changed a little bit. The way we went about our business changed a little bit. And that's exactly what Jim Nill's trying to do. And everybody's right. I mean, yeah, you've got some room here now, but right now, what do you need? I mean, what is your number one need right now? You're going to say that if we could get 1 goal a night on the power play, do we need a guy to play at the front of the net on the power play, or do we need a shooter? You're not getting Panarin. I don't think Govey's coming over here. Kreider's dangling around out there now, but again, is it that or is it a defenseman?
Long term, I still think defenseman. Right now, probably a forward.
And is that going to be enough? I mean, and what do you have? Like you said, what are you going to have to give up?
And what happens if you make that move now, and then 2 months from now, when the trade deadline is here, and you've already made your move? And again, I like the early trade. I like giving him more time. But what happens if something else comes up and you need to pivot, and now you've already played your cards and you don't have any left to play?
Yeah, that's the toughest part. But I think like Jimmy Rutherford in Pittsburgh and Vancouver and things like that, he'd always got to get out ahead of it.
Yep.
And the big fish were usually there a month or 2 out from the deadline. You just had to find out where they were sleeping, what rock or what log they were underneath, and you find out, and then you pull the trigger on that. So I'm with you. If you have an opportunity to go get exactly what you're looking for as close as you can, the other thing is you're going to have to keep tabs on Tyler. Where is Tyler at?
Yeah.
Is he getting close? Because then all of a sudden that may change things.
Saw a great post on Instagram from Tyler a couple days ago, which was a picture of his pregnant wife with her belly showing because she's due, I think, in a month or 2, and Tyler on crutches. He looked very dapper. He's well-dressed as he usually is. And I believe his caption was very notable. I'm paraphrasing here, but very unique Christmas card or something like that, right? Because when often will they be expecting and him coming off a hip surgery at the same time or something like that? So, I'm sure I think it's a long road for Seguin. Right? It's not going to be like, oh, yeah, he'll be ready in 2 months. And we know that.
One way to get out of changing diapers and feeding and stuff like that.
I mean, I got the crutches. I can't get anywhere.
Amazing what guys will go to.
Yeah, although with what his salary is, he could probably afford to pay for some help and get out of it that way. All right, more bing bongs.
Bing bong.
Prime Crusader, a little Ludwig. That's right, it's Ludwig. And Lindell. Santa came through for fans who wanted overtime losses.
Did he? But he ended up getting on the wrong, the different bus. So
wasn't what they were asking for, but yes, they got it. But it would have been better if this were a circumstance where they had to come back and rally and stole a point when they maybe didn't deserve it instead of the other way around. All right, next one.
Bing bong.
By Chloe, a little, let's see, that would be Brendan Smith and the year after Luddy won the Stanley Cup, the second time. We were doing good, but stopped being consistent. You think?
Aren't we just consistently what we are? Haven't we been kind of just meh?
Honestly, Minnesota showed a little pushback in the third period because the first two, they had very little of that.
Oh, you're just talking about this one game.
I think so.
I thought we were kind of talking as we've been playing.
What do you think?
Well, I think we've kind of been playing like this for a while.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And if you're talking about the game tonight, you took your foot off the gas. I think thought you had it wrapped up.
I know we have more.
You sure?
I was looking at the person who keeps unthumbs downing and re-thumbs downing the broadcast, and it distracted me. But yes, we have one more bing bong.
I thought we had another one. There it is. A little Madonna and Stanley Cup year from Michael Moore. Windows in pro sports close quick, and it feels like this is a team that the window is closing. Untimely injuries, power play struggling, and scorers, I think he meant, not scoring. I'm not sure a LTIR signing changes that.
I don't think it's closing because you got some young, good players here. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's other teams we can look at. You can go to San Jose, we can get the Ducks. We can go to some teams that it closed a few years ago and it's still closed. And because I think there's probably a dozen teams or 10 teams that would like this team that if the window's closing. It's about getting your health together and maybe adding a piece here or there because you're not that far away. You're really not. I mean, you get Tyler back healthy, you get Jake's game in order. I know there's a lot of ifs, and you add, a key piece like a year ago. We thought it was Chris Tanev. But again,
got him close.
At the end of this year, there's only one team that's going to be right. All the moves or no moves, there's only
31
one team
teams
that's
are going to be
right.
disappointed with their final standings.
Yeah.
Some more disappointed than others based on where they're at right now. Just when John said we were out of Super Chats, he was wrong. We got at least two more, so keep them coming.
Bing bong.
I love this one. Burps McGurps. A little Lundqvist and the year after Luddy won his second Stanley Cup. Ludsy, hypothetical for you. If you could choose any two people living or dead to have dinner with, who would be joining you and Steve's spot?
I would say Larry Robinson and Mike Modano.
Ooh. They're all living, by the way.
Yeah, they're living and living
so,
well.
In other words,
living large
you
and
could
living
arrange that dinner.
I could arrange that.
Yeah. How easy would that be to try to coordinate those three schedules?
Well, we're gonna have to get private jets for both of them to come in here. We know Mo's and Larry's probably gonna take a little bit to get them here, but we could do that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get some planes. Why is Spotter flying around my head?
Well, I think he's upset that you didn't pick him for the dinner. You tried to swat him away. All right, we got another one.
Hold on, buddy. Smack him. Hit him with your hand. Other way.
Backhand him. Nope,
See?
the other way.
It's
the other
this
way.
hand.
Yeah, that one. Oh,
So
there
you
he
got
goes.
him.
See,
I just hit Dirk in the forehead.
Yeah, you just sent him off.
They could use
I
him
need to put
tonight.
him back on the screen to get rid of him, though. The bit's over.
Yeah.
There's one more.
All right, we got another one.
Don't sound so happy
Bing
back
bong.
there, Don. Oh, there's one more.
He just wants to go home. A little bit of a Heiskanen and Stanley Cup year from William W. Williams. Does it hurt the chances of re-signing, which should have a hyphen in it, not resigning, re-signing Duchesne since he can only play with exactly Marchment and Sagan? So here's the thing, Luds. Knowing that you have a question mark with Tyler Sagan's recovery, meaning just timetable. Will he be able to get back? And then when he does, how good will he be on that surgically repaired hip? I'm sure that Mason Marchment, if he misses any time, it won't be that long. We hope, knock on wood. Wouldn't it be good to try to see if you could find another player that could gel with Matt Duchesne just so that you're your whole offense of that line isn't solely predicated on those three guys being healthy all at the same time.
How do you know that?
You don't.
Yeah, exactly. You don't. And you're not gonna have a problem signing Matt Duchene.
Who do you think?
If that's what that meant.
I actually really liked Duchene, Marchment, and Blackwell tonight before Marchment got hurt. I really thought they.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Blackwell can't put the puck in the net like Sagan.
Well, and we aren't asking him to be Tyler Sagan.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, you're
he
not
had a nice
gonna
finish in Utah the other night.
Okay. Well,
it's one. Yeah. I know. You're right. So, well, hey, great chats. Boy, you're fired up about. I love all the other stuff. Appreciate it, and let's keep it coming. But right now, we have to take a pause because we got to tell you about the Die Hard program. It's been growing every day as we continue. Like, remember, our branch of ALLCITY, Dlls, is only a few months old. We started in late August, and here we are heading towards a new year, even though it's still the first year of our existence. So the amount of support already for the Die Hard program is great. A lot of people signed up. Remember, there's all sorts of great features you can get. And I'll be wearing another new DLS shirt on Sunday for our Stars game against the Blackhawks. You can get a free shirt if you sign up. Each year you sign up to be a Die Hard, you'll get a promo code, and you will be able to select anything from the t-shirt menu of the DLS merch store, including the Mike Modano 8-bit shirt. Maybe I'll wear that one on Sunday. Just got that one. Luddy may need to stretch out his green DLS flag shirt that he got because it was a size too small, and then I think he shrunk it.
I just washed like a normal person would. Didn't it?
Yeah, it got a little tighter than you wanted. It was already a bit fitting anyway. Plus, all the writing that all of our great writers do provide on the alldls.com website, which is where you can go. You can scan the QR code on the screen if you're watching. If you're listening later, go to alldls.com, click on the Die Hard program, sign up today. We really appreciate your support, and we hope you enjoy the extra access it provides. All right. So, how do we want to do this? You want to go with the Herman Marshall marquee moment and start off our fourth segment?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's do the Herman Marshall marquee moment of the game. Pick up your favorite bottle at your closest goody-goody liquor store.
This is a tough one for me because I bounced around. The ending had something to do with it. I was going with Dodonov, but I am now going with Wyatt Johnston because if it wasn't for Wyatt's goal and Wyatt's pass to Dodonov, Dallas may not even get the 1 point out of this game. So I will say Wyatt Johnston right now.
So Wyatt is your marquee moment. Which moment of those?
His goal.
The goal.
His goal. Well, not the one he's chasing behind the net or anything.
Not the pass.
Yeah,
right.
No,
this
no,
one?
no, the goal.
Not that one. For every bottle of single barrel straight bourbon whiskey, Herman Marshall donates 15% of its revenue to the Guns N' Hoses Foundation of North Texas. For those who went before, stop in to your closest goody-goody liquor store to find your favorite bottle.
Bing bong.
Oh, we have another super chat. They just don't want to let us stop, and I appreciate it. Ardell writes in with a little Lundqvist and Dodonov tonight. The Dallas Stars were the better team tonight and lost. Why? They don't finish chances. Dodonov has more goals than Benn, Robertson, Johnston, Stankoven. We need a finisher. He's right. You need a finisher.
What he said.
So that's what I said in the pregame show. When I was talking to Matt Duchene this morning, he said that what they really miss from Tyler Sagan is his finishing on that line. Now, of course, Mason Marchment getting hit in the face by a puck didn't help tonight. But, yeah, that's
Wyatt Johnston scoring goals now, right? Or at least we hope he is.
Yeah,
he's not making an extra pass anymore. He's shooting. Everybody needs to start shooting. And if you're not shooting, go to the net.
And you know what?
Quit hanging on the perimeter, Robo.
Like Stankoven now, I believe he is up to 17 games without a goal. But it didn't mess with his game. You were right. And I didn't doubt you. He had 4 or 5 shots tonight.
He had 4 shots tonight again. And he goes to the hard areas. He only knows one way to play. Is he going to be
like him on the fourth line
with
with Steele and Oscar Beck because I think he adds a little bit of danger to that group.
I think he can add a little bit to any line that he plays with, just the way that he plays. Again, he just does too many things right. And yeah, it's 17 games now?
17 games now.
Yeah, and nobody knows that number better than he does, but it's not like he's doing anything where he was the Blackwell of a month and a half ago where they're going to sit him out.
Right.
He brings more to the table than that, but we definitely do need his goal scoring at this moment.
I mean, he's a hard-nosed player. He plays 200 feet. He's not getting scored on, right? And that's the thing that's amazing is that through this, he hasn't scored a goal in 17 games now. He's 4 goals, 17 points in 31 games, 32 counting tonight. And I believe he's only -2.
Yep.
And that's going through a pretty large scoring drought. And
what were the minutes at? Don't go with don't look at his numbers. Look at Steele.
Steele played 17:05 tonight. Okay. Remember, they missed a forward.
He was on the PK probably. He got some time on the PK.
Yeah, he had 42 seconds of shorthanded time.
I had said that I thought maybe tonight would be a game where they may play the top 3 lines a little bit more.
Played almost 18 minutes.
Yeah, he's a power play guy.
Now,
and
part
things
of
like
that is you lose Marchman. Everybody's got to play a little bit more to make up for his minutes because Marchman, injured in the end of the first period, ended up with only 4:58 of ice time tonight. That's 10 to 12 minutes short of what he normally plays.
Right.
So somebody's got to eat that. And they were kind of working it around with a bunch of guys, and everybody got more. Even, for example, Oscar Beck played 14 minutes tonight. They had to roll lines what they could.
And see, that's what I mean is like he will just kind of, hand out the minutes and keep it pretty even. He generally does that. So very rarely does he shorten the bench, halfway through the third period or, beginning of the third period.
Yeah, and again, a couple of good things. Jamie was +2 tonight. Dodonov, that whole line.
Yeah.
They were plus. There was only one line that was really minus. Unfortunately, it was the Hintz, Robertson, and Bork line. Although one of them was the 3-on-3 in overtime. Not that that's any less. That was for Wyatt. Wyatt would have been +2 if it wasn't for that one at the end in 3-on-3. Stankoven was an even player again. He had 7 shot attempts. You mentioned 4 shots on net. 4 out of 8 in the face-off circle, so that was better, 50%. Look, these guys are, it's not an excuse. Minnesota had, 3 or 4 guys out of their lineup and some pretty important ones, but they've got to find a way to – actually, that's an interesting thing I want to ask you about. Lian Bichsel came up with a lot of fanfare, scored, because he had that shot on his first one. What do you think about his game tonight?
I think his game – after second, third game that he's been here, not that it's gone south. I think it's just there's time. I think again, I can see the way he's now he's playing the way that they want him to play in his own end, and so he kind of gets caught halfway in between, which is very hard. And again, we heard Dumba say the same thing, or I think he didn't come out and say it, but he just said getting used to the system and things like that. It is different. It's different. So. But otherwise, I think he's been fine. I don't think there's been any, big boo-boos or any big mistakes that he's made. I mean, he plays hard. He tries to be physical. I think he joins the rush at the right time when he does. I don't know if he's after the first couple games, I thought he was going to be this big impact back there.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
I mean,
it looked right away as if he was going to be a huge impact.
Yeah. I don't,
But, he is playing on the third pairing.
Yep.
And... under normal circumstances, a guy like that comes up and he hasn't played in the NHL before and he's young and you see him and he's playing, with Lyubushkin. Is that big of a problem? I mean, isn't it good that he's playing sort of a net neutral game, most of it?
The only thing I wonder about is, are you taking out, you still have to get 2 guys into the lineup. You don't have to get Smith into the lineup, but you want to get Smith into the lineup. You want to keep him
going.
Matt Dumba is going to get back in the lineup. So now you're at Lundqvist and you're at Bichsel, right? So
I think Nils has been playing really well lately.
I do too.
Tonight,
I don't have a problem with that.
Tied some stuff up really well.
And he's more...
It seems like he's shooting a little bit more now.
And he's lending more to the offense, which is what the coaches and staff likes. So he lends more than that to Bichsel. So if I had to guess, when Dumba's ready... or when they want to get Smith in there or something like that, I'm thinking that Bichsel may come out, which is okay. It's okay if he comes out for a game or 2 sometimes. It's okay to sit up there. I don't think they're going to send him back, but maybe when everybody gets healthy, somebody's got to go.
Well, it'll be interesting because Sam asked Pete DeBoer this the other day. I want to say it was Sunday practice before they went to Salt Lake City. And he asked, well, what happened, because Dumba was skating with the team. What happens when he's ready to go? He said, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
And I said this on our broadcast on Monday. he wasn't punting because he didn't want to talk about it. It's you don't know what's going to happen by the time Dumba's healthy, if they'll have 8 or somebody else gets hurt, knock on wood, or whatever. Circumstances can change. So we could say, well, yeah, maybe they'll send Bichsel back down because they want him to play more, or maybe you'll roll 8 and you keep 8 on the roster. We don't know yet.
I think he gave that answer because he doesn't want to tell a young player he's going down.
Yep.
Or he doesn't want to tell a veteran player
he's not
playing. He just kind of kept it right in the middle of the road there.
And to be fair, Dumba wasn't at his best before he got hurt. So it does allow, it's not as though they're clamoring to get him in the lineup immediately. You can be a little more patient with a guy who clearly has some sort of facial injury. But he's right.
You also get a little bit longer rope with the ticket you're on, right? I mean, it's different when you're making $3.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes owners that are sitting at home aren't happy about guys that are making a lot of money not being in the lineup.
Yeah.
If he deserves it, that's different.
Well, it'll be interesting to see over the next few days and week or so when Dumba, because he did skate fully with the team today. Again, he practiced with him the other day before the holiday break. We'll see where he's at. Yeah, it's interesting to see where it's at. Who do
you start next game in net?
That's an interesting question because they play in Chicago. I think you want Casey DeSmith.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what
the reason why is for twofold. One
or do you want to play Jake against that particular team that you should beat just from a confidence standpoint?
You're playing at home against the Buffalo Sabres on New Year's Eve. You should beat them. They're
I know,
awful
but I'm
too.
just saying. I think, and again, you can hit the little button over there. The sky is not falling when it comes to Jake Oettinger. But I think you need to raise, because there were a couple those goals tonight, and there was in the last time he played, there was a couple that I felt just his body language was like, how did that go in? Why did that go in? What didn't I do right? And I think you got to get him where he's comfortable in his own skin in every situation that he's in.
So we'll give you an update on Sunday as what we have with, there's one. Only one man can save our power play. Bring back Klingberg. That's interesting from iBamboozle, just because in the last week or so, there's been reports that Klingberg, who wants to attempt to come back from his latest hip surgery, not his first one, but it's the other one, is going to start skating with a junior team up in Canada with the idea that he will hopefully sign a team deal and is okay understanding he may have to go to an AHL team and start playing before he can get that deal with an NHL team. Be interesting because I think when they chose not to re-sign Klingberg when he was a free agent, he turned down a deal that in hindsight looked pretty good for him. And he fired his agent after not getting, remember he signed that 1-year deal with Anaheim and then got traded to Minnesota and then played with Toronto last year before he got hurt.
But would you say that Miro or Thomas are the issues with the power play?
No, but they're also
then why
not
would
the,
you bring a
no,
guy back here?
Yeah, they're not the issues with the power play, but they're not the driver of the power play. They're complementary pieces in the sense that they're the quarterback. But
because if you're going to bring Klingberg back, you're going to have more guys sitting over here trying to take one-timers.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's going to lead more to perimeter shooting.
And he's really good at floating pucks from walking the line and floating things through the first layers and getting them into those tippable areas. But one of the things that, and we've talked about this in the last couple of years.
So is there Carlson.
Jim Nill said it was part of an addition by subtraction because it allowed, because the vacuum left by Klingberg with his power play time that he commanded, it allowed Miro to expand into that top role.
Yeah.
And that's important. Quick update from Pete DeBoer. I'm seeing post-game that he said on Mason Marchment he was taken to the hospital after getting hit in the face with a puck and that it was, quote, not pretty. So we hope he's okay, but
probably have to have a little surgery.
I wonder about that.
Yeah.
Especially with how hard
because you can stitch him up downstairs, so it's not that.
If it's not just a few sutures, it's got to be more.
But we're not supposed to speculate, right?
No.
Or can we do that here?
I mean, we can't.
We do everything else that's wrong. At least I do.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a great thing to do. Thanks to everyone who joined in on our television platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldlls.com. Okay, back to the show as we finish up this one. A couple more things to do real quick. One, let's do man of the match. Is it the same as your
to do this
marquee moment? No, it's not.
No, it's goalie at the other end of the rink.
Philip Gustafson.
Yeah. Again, he He was very similar to what DeSmith had to do at a couple times at his starts. Is he gave his team an opportunity to hang around, and I think if you look at the 2 goals that went in the net, they were pretty damn high quality shots.
Yeah, I mean, it was Dodonov on a breakaway.
Yeah.
Johnston on a 3-on-2 drop pass in the slot through a leg.
I mean, I don't know who else I would take from a Stars standpoint. I mean, I could take Wyatt or Dodonov. But
I thought Dodonov was very good. Wyatt was good. They each had a goal and assist tonight.
Man of the match was the goaltender at the other end of the ring.
Gustafsson finished with 27 saves on 29 shots to pick up the win. He has 16 wins on the season, tied with Jake, who also has 16 wins. I like that. I mean, you could give it to Faber, who's got the winner in overtime. I thought Spurgeon gave him a lot of trouble, and of course, Foligno got the tip-in goal that tied it and was around the net. But yeah, no, it's Gustafsson. He was the reason why. And the Stars had chances early in the game to extend, and they didn't do enough on the power play. As far as this is a recurring theme. It's not that they didn't have scoring chances on the power play. They didn't have enough high danger, and it's the retreads, it's the recycled chances, it's the scrambly plays. They're not getting those.
And I was going to say that, but as I try to run it back in my head, I don't know how many were actually laying around, which is even more credit to him. Yep. Whether he finishes it or they end up going, went deep into the corners where you can't get another whack at him.
Yeah, I mean, he made a solid save on a couple. The one that was really close was that Jason Robertson one in the first period that hit the post. Yep. That's real close. Yep. That goes in. You get your power play goal. You're up 2-0 at that point. Who knows where it ends up? But yeah, for me, I agree with Lutz. Gustafsson is tonight's man of the match. All right, so that leaves us with looking ahead at the next game, which is against the Chicago Blackhawks on Sunday night. This is an ESPN game, so you cannot watch this on Victory Plus. You have to watch it on ESPN. We will be doing that. And then they will come back home and play the Sabres on New Year's Eve. That starts another 3-game homestand after this short 1-game trip up to Chicago. Everybody remembers the last time they went there. Believe it or not, it was last month. God, that doesn't seem that long ago, yet it was the 27th of November. 6-2 loss at the end of a 3-game road trip where they beat Tampa, then had the lead in Carolina, and then got waxed in the third period, lost 6-4. And then 6-2. Now, it wasn't that the Stars were just bad. Casey DeSmith had a rough game. He gave up a first shot of the game, turned the puck over, gave up another one. And even then, Luds, I thought the Stars were the better team because Chicago's not very good. But Taylor Hall hat trick, and then they kind of imploded at the end of it.
The way you'll look at this is if things work out the way we want them to, is you're going to be heading into the new year, and you're going to look back and say we ended the year by taking 5 out of 6 points.
Yep.
It's just another way of trying to push this one behind you a little bit.
By the way, the Blackhawks were on the road tonight. They went to Buffalo.
They lost 4-2.
6-2.
6-2, yeah.
Yep, they got smoked. The Detroit Red Wings also got beat at home 5-2 by the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was 5-0 at one point. And Luddy, we had another coaching change in Detroit. Another coaching change in the league.
Since November of last year, there has been 16 coaching changes over half the league. You're talking
about a calendar year.
Over half the league has changed. It just happens here all the time. And they're not done. Somebody else will go.
So Derek Lalonde was fired, I believe, on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And then Todd McClellan, veteran, highly respected coach.
Been in Detroit before.
So now he's the head coach.
Yep.
He wasn't the head coach before, though. Nope. He was an assistant.
Nope. Yep.
But head coach Pete DeBoer was asked about him this morning, had very high praise for McClellan, who's been in San Jose, who's in L.A., Edmonton, I think.
I don't think it started out well for him tonight, though, right? Didn't Detroit lose tonight?
Lost 5-2 to Toronto in Detroit. Yep. So, and then, by the way, Boston, who I believe is hosting the Blue Jackets tomorrow, got smoked 6-2 by said Blue Jackets.
The only time he actually giddied up a little bit there tonight.
Do you remember?
What was I going to add to the Stars discussion?
Well, no. You're always adding something, but your tank is a little low today.
Remember you and I were having a conversation before the pregame show tonight about the schedule? You were pretty confident on your St. Louis Blues over the Nashville Predators in St. Louis tonight. You know what the final score was?
No.
St. Louis 7, Nashville 4. You were dead on accurate.
And I didn't bet it.
They are going to
I didn't go for it. Tonight. Well, that will wrap things up tonight for us. Obviously, getting a power play goal would help. Getting goaltending, which was fine until the third period.
It was fine until it wasn't.
Fine until it wasn't, and that was tough. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will be back on Sunday night. The game starts at 7:30 Central Time, so we will be on the air for a pregame show with Luds, Sam, Sean, and myself, and hopefully a refreshed and recharged producer John at 7 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. Until then, thanks for watching. So long, everyone.
Tomahawk City.
We all silly like the mayor.